This is Monty in the Morning, the show Phoenix Magazine readers voted #1 talk radio show in Arizona.
#1 during your morning commute.
#1 whenever news breaks during your day.
And #1 whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. How the heck are you? It is the Monty Show. We are live every morning. You can count on us, man. We are ready to rock and roll with you. Let's do this thing, yo. The Utah Jazz. We have got interesting intrigue and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what? The funny thing to me is, and I could be wrong about this. The funny thing to me is that there's a lot of people that are simply sure that the Jazz will not trade Rudy Gobert.
Right.
And there's a lot of people who are positive they're going to trade Rudy Gobert. We have all the latest details for you on that coming up. This Kyrie Irving story, I think, certainly is significant as well. LIV Golf is going to supposedly shock the world today. Supposedly. Shock the world
Allegedly.
today. Allegedly.
Right.
They're going to shock the world today. So we have all the details on that for you. Burger joints are out here killing people. They're out here. No, I can't say that.
You don't want to say that.
That's LIV Golf.
Don't say that. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Yeah, that's we're not there.
But what we do have to do is talk Rudy Gobert and the Utah Jazz right here on the Monty Show. And as we've told you, the Utah Jazz have been for some number of weeks and months trying to trade Rudy Gobert. And the interesting thing is, it looks like they have a deal in place if the Chicago Bulls can make a trade before the NBA draft to acquire draft capital that they can move to the Utah Jazz. So NBA sources last night were telling us the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls have a trade in principle, but the Jazz are close to getting a king's ransom. They absolutely want a first-round pick in this year's NBA draft and a future first-round pick. But the biggest question is, will the Chicago Bulls include Patrick Williams in this trade? And Jake, my biggest question is, should the Utah Jazz make this deal without Patrick Williams?
Yeah, I think for the Utah Jazz, it's a big risk. And the reason I say it's a big risk is because the Utah Jazz don't exactly have a storied history in the draft. They don't have a great track record of getting big players from the draft and seeing those players pan out for them. And I think that, while, yes, that is the past, and while, yes, someone else was in control in Dennis Lindsey, it still kind of begs the question. And so, should they make the deal without Patrick Williams? I have a lot of reservations about that. Now, if you said to me, hey, you're going to get a top 10 first-round pick, let's say, and then one more next year, okay, I feel pretty safe in saying that in the top 10 picks in this draft, I can get someone that's a key contributor to our team or someone that could come in and contribute for at least 20 to 30 minutes a night. Maybe not the guy that decides if you win or lose the game, but a guy that can really give you solid minutes. So should they make the deal without Patrick Williams? Only in a very certain and specific criteria would that work, and that, to me, would have to be a top 10 pick.
I think you can't make this deal without him. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think when you look at Patrick and you look at what he brings and you look at what the Utah Jazz need, and I think it's very clear they need a perimeter defender. They need a better athlete on the perimeter to help them stop wing offenders in this league. The Utah Jazz last year were very clearly weak. I mean, that there's nobody's going to deny that the Utah Jazz had issues defending the perimeter. And a big culprit of that was Rudy Gobert. Now, obviously, Bojan Bogdanovic is a guy that struggles to defend the perimeter. But you know what I would say about that? Hey, man, if you bring Pat Williams into this team, and he's a guy that can be the guy defending pick and rolls and switches on Bojan Bogdanovic's side, it makes it a whole lot more palatable to have Bojan Bogdanovic out there because, again, I am in the camp that believes that Bojan Bogdanovic can be the third or fourth option on a championship team because he's an elite three-point shooter. But, again, I'm not an NBA general manager, and I'm not running the Utah Jazz. And I'm telling you right now, as sure as I am sitting here, if Pat Williams is not in this deal, I don't know that I can make that deal because you just are not going to get better. And we've heard all kinds of rumors about this, and sources yesterday told me that the Utah Jazz were still pretty adamant about Patrick Williams. The problem is the Chicago Bulls, Jake, are far more adamant that they don't want to trade Patrick Williams. Right. And the other name that we've talked about a lot is Ayo Dosunmu, who I know the Bulls don't want to trade. I just don't know if you make a trade with the Bulls, even if you get 2 first-rounders. My personal opinion is that's not enough to trade Rudy Gobert for 2 first-round picks. That just doesn't meet the bar for me.
Well, and I mean, obviously, you're also getting, Vucevic and you're getting Kobe White. And the thing is when you go and you do a deal of this magnitude and you're just getting the first-round picks as opposed to a bona fide contributor, somebody who's proven and clearly has a lot of upside in his game, there's risk in that. There's no question about it. But also, I might add that Danny Ainge has a clear ability to draft. I mean, you're talking about a guy who drafted Jason Tatum and went and got Jaylen Brown. And that's what I'm saying. It wouldn't surprise me if this deal got done, assuming that those two picks were high caliber first-round picks. I don't think that if you're Danny Ainge, you're taking a first-round pick that's in the 20s. I don't think that works for the Utah Jazz. And I think the Utah Jazz need to prioritize that. They need to prioritize making sure that whenever they do this deal, because that's the other side of this. There's a lot of people saying, well, they could bring Rudy back. They're not bringing him back. You don't put this guy in the center of trade talks and in the middle of all this fire and controversy and then try to bring him back. That's not how that works. So to me, he's gone. It's just going to be a matter of what that looks like. So should they make the deal without Patrick Williams? Ideally, no. But at the same time, they're not in a position exactly to dictate to all these other teams.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing, too, as we talk about the Utah Jazz trading Rudy Gobert this morning on the show. I think it is one of those deals where you have to ask yourself, well, how much am I going to hold out for? Because I think when you are looking at what the Jazz have versus what the Jazz need, I just don't see a way that you can, and this is just my opinion, I don't see a way that you can send Rudy Gobert out for Vucevic and 2 first-round picks. I just don't think that works. I also don't think it works to have, a guy like Rudy Gobert go out for Kobe White and Nikola Vucevic. That's not value in return. This is the premier defender in the NBA. He's by far the best rim protector in the NBA. And in my opinion, there's real value in that, especially to a team like the Chicago Bulls, who has struggled so mightily to do exactly what Rudy Gobert's done for the Utah Jazz, which is rim protect and close the paint. Now, is he a liability, Rudy, on the perimeter? Yes, he is. I totally understand that. The Chicago Bulls have a much deeper level of athleticism compared to the Utah Jazz. You can absorb Rudy Gobert into your defensive scheme when you have guys like a Zach LaVine, when you have all these other pieces, a DeMar DeRozan, a Javonte Green, an Ayo Dosunmu, an Alex Caruso, who, by the way, I heard yesterday one guy saying that Alex Caruso very well may be in this deal, that he would certainly be an upgrade. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, Alex Caruso brings you a different level of athleticism and defensively speaking, if I could talk today, which clearly I can't.
It's Tuesday.
Well, Monday because we were off.
Right.
Yesterday.
Good point.
I mean, what is enough from the Bulls? Because I still don't know. Is Vucevic, Kobe White and Alex Caruso with 2 first-round picks? Is that enough?
Well, there's a dynamic at play where obviously, you have to match the money. And so what's enough? First off, that conversation starts with, all right, we just need to get to a place where the money works, firstly. So Vucevic has to be in the deal, 100%. And then Kobe White probably supplements that to get you equal on money. But then the conversation shifts to, okay, we're equal on money, but now what do we feel like we need to get back to make this deal worth it, to get proper value for an all-star and a 3-time defensive player of the year guy? That's the trouble. That's what's holding up the Rudy Gobert process. And holding up might be strong. Maybe that's not the right verbiage. I think, that's the difficulty in the process, I guess, would be a better way that I'd like to say that. Because at the end of the day, nothing is holding up the deal. It's a negotiation, and Danny Ainge simply has to choose how much garbage he wants to take back. And I think whether we're talking about the Herter deal in Atlanta, whether we're talking about Vucevic in Chicago, or whether we're talking about a different deal, Danny Ainge, when it comes down to it, brass tacks, what are you willing to take back to get this contract off your books? And that's simply going to define A number of things. Number one, it's going to define what you can do after you make this deal, whatever deal you make. Number two, not only is this deal going to define it, but the deals after this deal are going to define how long Donovan Mitchell decides he wants to stay or how he feels coming into this season. And then number three, the deals that you make here, starting with this Gobert deal, are going to define what head coach you want to hire. So Danny Ainge, make no mistake about it, Danny Ainge, not Ryan Smith. Danny Ainge is the one controlling where this team goes and what the next 4 to 5 seasons look like for the Utah Jazz.
Well, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, this is a huge moment in time for the Utah Jazz. Like, I mean, this trade, and this is why I say when we talk about, hey, are 2 first-round picks enough? It's not. Because don't forget what the other edict is here, and that is the Utah Jazz have said they want to be a playoff team. They want 2 All-Stars, supposedly, which, again, my sources at the Jazz tell me isn't necessarily the case.
Yeah.
They want 2 All-Stars because the All-Star game is in Salt Lake City. I think their biggest edict now is we've got to stay in the playoffs. And if you trade Rudy Gobert, you have to get a guy in return that makes you a better defensive team. And in my opinion, the biggest problem on the Utah Jazz has been that they're not very good at perimeter defending.
Right.
And I think Rudy Gobert is a huge problem in pick and rolls. And he tends to drop. We saw that multiple times in the playoffs. We saw that certainly multiple times during the season. Houston comes to mind, where you have a guy like Christian Wood who switches. Rudy Gobert drops into the paint and Christian Wood hits a game-tying three-pointer. That happened all year long. Patrick Williams solves that problem. But if I'm the Chicago Bulls, how willing am I to give up a guy like Patrick Williams? And the answer is I'm probably not willing to give him up at all. And so what else are you willing to put into that deal? That's what has to be figured out here. Because, again, the headline this morning is the Chicago Bulls and the Utah Jazz have a deal made, essentially, that requires the Bulls to go out and get additional draft capital. And from what I understand, the Bulls should be able to do that. If they're able to do that and they're able to trade the Utah Jazz 2 first-round picks, my guess is that the Utah Jazz, Jake, are not getting Patrick Williams.
Yeah, and I think that's really tough. And again, this is sort of the, hey, well, this deal will be defined by what you make of it in the draft. And that's the thing where, as a Jazz fan, I think that you can take some comfort, because the Utah Jazz for so long have just struggled in the draft. They have made mistake after mistake. They've tried to trade guys that just didn't work. And I just think that the Utah Jazz are in a different spot now. You've got a different guy driving the car. You know, he should be able to make something out of the draft if he does do that deal, which, again, I'm telling you, is 50-50 at best. I have to agree. I don't love the prospect of not having Patrick Williams. I think he's a dynamic defender. He does so many things for you. Why would you not mandate that he's part of the deal?
You have to have it.
And that's where I really struggle. So I think, the draft is Thursday. You're 2 days from it, or I guess if you count today, 3 days from it, and I think that there's a lot of work that's got to be done, and you damn well better be ready for that draft.
Yeah, I think you have to have him. I do. I just don't think that it's an option not to have him. Let's get your thoughts. Good morning to everybody. Hey, by the way, again, this is our new setup. So you're noticing, if you're a longtime listener of the show or viewer of the show, our look is completely different. So is our audio, by the way. Yesterday, we really appreciated that you guys gave us a bunch of feedback talking about how the show sounded, how the show looked.
Yeah.
What you were experiencing. Continue to do that, because as we go through this is our second show with this new setup. We're going to tweak the audio. We're going to tweak the way the cameras look, because we want it to be comfortable for you. So, hey, is the audio too loud? Is it too soft? Is it perfect? Let us know. Feel free to comment below. So, the Blind Swordsman DS, how the heck are you, man? Good to see you. He says, in the infamous words of Hawkeye, don't give me hope that Gobert is gone. Well, there could be that for certain. Steve Hambone says, shout out to Salt Lake Regional Medical Center. Just got a new hip and doing fine. And how are the Jazz doing?
Well, ask me on Thursday. Right now, they're not doing great.
Yet to be determined?
Yeah, yet to be determined is probably the proper answer.
Yeah, I think absolutely yet to be determined. Neville93 says, good morning, lads. Love the show. Neville, love you. Appreciate you being here. Leonard Donenendelov says Matt Barnes' reaction to Utah jersey was so funny. I don't know that anybody's reaction to the Utah jersey was so funny.
And I don't know that the organization's real thrilled with the reaction to their jerseys.
No, I would agree with that. By the way, he also says, we back, love the show. Thanks for being here. Michael Burton, how the heck are you? No team beating the Warriors next year. Probably all teams should sell up. Well, I think you should absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind, you should absolutely be building for the future. I mean, if the Warriors showed us anything,
yeah,
you can build a dynasty over a decade. I mean, they've won 4 rings in 8 years, even with all the KD and the Clay drama and all the Clay injuries.
Yes.
They've won 4 rings in 8 years. It is a tough thing to do, but you have to start somewhere. And trading Rudy Gobert, in my opinion, that's where you start there.
But if you're the Utah Jazz, these are the tough decisions you have to make. You have to be, for lack of a better word, cold-blooded about it in a certain sense, because you can't say to yourself, well, this is a 3-time defensive player of the year. We can't trade this guy. Well, yeah, you can. And that's why they're going to. And that's why I say anybody you hear right now saying they're not going to trade him, I would not trust that person, because I think based on everything we've heard, he is gone. It's just a matter of how they're going to go about it and what that looks like.
Yeah, totally agree. Ryan Poole says, hey, guys, Jazz and Ute fan living in D.C. Been watching every day for months. Keep up the good work. What's up, Ryan Poole?
Thanks,
good to
bro.
see you.
Thank you.
Michael Burton says, Jazz won't be relevant this coming year, and any year Warriors have Curry, Clay, and Dre. See, I think that's an interesting point, because I actually think there's a lot of people worried that that's the case. Well, you got to upgrade the roster, and I think that upgrade starts when you trade Rudy Gobert. That's the thing that I think a lot of people have to understand, is that I know that the Jazz fans love Rudy Gobert, and you should. He's a fabulous player. But Don and Rudy specifically, and this group around them, haven't won. And the question you have to ask yourself is, do you want to win a championship more than you want to be a fan of Rudy Gobert? That's the question. And I think you have to want to win a championship more than you want to wear a Rudy Gobert jersey. As painful as that might be, and I know how passionate fans are about guys like Don and about guys like Rudy, at some point, change is very, very necessary on this ball club if you're going to win. So I think it is, and this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
This is, again, the conversation of why you have to get Patrick Williams in this deal.
Yeah.
I think because when you're giving away a guy like Rudy Gobert, 2 first-round picks is not enough.
Yeah.
And it, as huge as that is and we're going to talk about Chet Holmgren in the NBA draft here in a minute, but as huge as that is with talents like Chet Holmgren, Jake, I think you need more than 2 first-round picks.
Well,
here.
and I think the distinction so clearly is that Patrick Williams, you know what you have in him already. He's been on the floor. He's fouled guys. He's played defense. He's put tape together of elite pick and roll space awareness. And I know that sounds really complicated in basketball and ease, if you will, but like, he understands where he is on the floor and where he needs to be and what spots he needs to get to put himself in the best position possible to be successful. And I cannot emphasize this enough. We're not just talking about what value we should get back for Rudy Gobert if you're the Utah Jazz. We're talking about Donovan Mitchell's career. We're talking about the timeline to at least contend for a championship, or frankly, the timeline with which you're not going to be a postseason team. And I'm telling you right now, if Danny Ainge does this deal and Patrick Williams is not in it, I would have concerns about their ability to make the postseason based on who he is able to go and get in the draft.
Yeah, and I just, again, say the Bulls don't have a whole lot to offer. They don't.
But they have enough. They
certainly do. And I think as you go through this, like I think Dustin Flannery makes a really interesting point. Do you think Chicago will offer Caruso or Ball instead of Williams? That is not a trade I'm willing to make.
Correct.
Caruso and Ball versus Williams is not a trade. That's not value.
They're not comparable.
Yeah, that's not value for the Utah Jazz. I mean, the problem with Lonzo Ball is that he is always injured. He does not play full seasons. Yeah, he is battling a knee injury right now that makes him wholly unattainable, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I love Alex Caruso, as Jeremy Bolton and everybody else who watches this show daily will tell you. I think Alex Caruso's the cherry on top of your championship Sunday. He's a guy you want on your team. when you need somebody to dive on the floor after a loose ball or hit a key three in the corner, I'm happy to have Alex Caruso there.
Right.
But I got to have Patrick Williams in this deal to make this deal. It's got to happen. Like there's no way around that and that's just me.
But I think that the balance that we have to find, the balance the Utah Jazz have to find here, and this is why I think ultimately they will do this deal with the picks. That's my opinion. We're not hearing that. That's just my opinion. But ultimately why I think it does work out that they do this deal with the picks is because they're not in a position to dictate to the Chicago Bulls or any other team. That is not the position you are in, and you're paying that price because of what Dennis Lindsey did. And so my thing just is that if you're Danny Ainge and you want to get active in this draft, you damn well better get this deal done. This deal has to be done so you can operate in the draft, so you can start making calls, so you can start having the next conversations. And that's what's troubling to me is like, how long do you sit in this window where you're going back and forth with the Chicago Bulls on what they're willing to do and how this trade's going to be set up? That's what I think is also really valuable here is the time, because they don't have endless time. You got to get on with making this deal. You got to get on with moving Mike Conley if you can. And then you got to get on with the draft. And then from that point, you got to get on with hiring a head coach. So that's what I'm saying. Rudy's not coming back. Moving Rudy is not simply an opinion or an option. Moving Rudy is part of a process. He is the linchpin that is your offseason. And that's why it's so important to get him off your books, because that's going to free up a lot of flexibility. And I have to say, as much as I don't trust the prior regimes of the Utah Jazz, this is why Danny Ainge is here. You can trust in Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge's track record speaks for itself. The Boston Celtics did lose in the finals, but they got there, right? If I said to you right here today, hey, yeah, they're going to trade Rudy Gobert, but Donovan Mitchell and this Utah Jazz squad that they build is going to contend for an NBA championship and they're going to make an NBA Finals appearance, I think every Jazz fan would take that, because I certainly would.
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes we as fans, we get emotional about our players and we forget that the ultimate goal is to win a championship. And until we remember that, it makes it difficult. James Knight, good morning to you. He says it's counterproductive for the Bulls to give up Patrick Williams, a 20-year-old number 4 pick. Well, but if you're adding arguably the best defensive player in the NBA, a guy who's won a Defensive Player of the Year award 3 times, and what is your number 1 weakness in Chicago? You can't rim protect.
And how does he play with DeMar and Zach LaVine? That's what I think people are excited about.
Yeah, totally agree. Michael Burton says the Utah Jazz will do a fire sale because they can't beat the Warriors. There's no such thing as a fire sale.
Yeah.
I mean, a fire sale is let's trade everything we have and dwell at the bottom of the NBA. And that's some Sacramento Kings behavior. We don't need that. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Rudy Sanchez, the Jazz can turn those picks into another player as well as being traded out of the draft. I mean, it'd be nice if you got 2 first-round picks. But again, I just don't think that you can get those picks and not get a star player in return. Well, and I just don't think that you're operating. I think it's a pretty safe assumption to make that they're not operating with the concept of, hey, we're going to get picks to try and make something else happen. That's right. This is Rudy Gobert, bro. Like, as much as I'm not a Rudy guy, you're talking about a player who's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year and clearly on his own is worth wins. It didn't work out in Quinn's system. It didn't work out with Donovan Mitchell. That doesn't mean that Rudy sucks. Rudy has a ton of value. So you're not operating from the standpoint of, hey, I just want picks and a couple of odds and ends for Rudy Gobert. That's not good enough. That's why I agree with you. Patrick Williams does have to be in this deal, but I just don't think Danny's got enough leverage to make that happen. Well, we're going to find out. I mean, I think we're going to find out, because there's a lot of people. Dante May says Patrick Williams or no deal. I don't give a flying firefly. Right. That's a direct the flying. Right.
All gas, no break.
Right. Yeah, I think that's full what the flying firefly and stuff. Right. I don't know. I think the bottom line on this is I don't think you can make this deal without Patrick Williams. But you're going to get to a point where you're not going to have a choice at some point in this offseason. Like, you need to. Do we understand they can't wait till like August to trade Rudy Gobert? We get that, right?
Like, there's not a scenario where you're going to sit here and just put your hands under your butt on the chair and, like, just wait. That's not going to work. Like they don't – that's what I'm saying. Like, I understand the sentiment, and I even agree with it to the commenter, hey, no Pat Williams, no deal. Yes, I agree with that sentiment, and I would love for that to be the case, but it's just simply not the case. You're not – it's just not how it works.
Yeah, no, I think no matter what you do here, you cannot miss on this trade. And the thing that I keep going back to with the Utah Jazz and the Chicago Bulls for that matter, where you are, you're at such a critical tipping point. Like, if you look at the Chicago Bulls, you're coming off of easily your best season in a decade. You're relevant again. You have a player in Zach LaVine that is in line for a max contract that you're going to do everything you can do to return him to the fold. DeMar DeRozan is one of the best stories in the NBA last year, but you were terrible on defense. The reason you didn't advance further in the playoffs is because you couldn't stop anybody. You bring in the stopper at the rim. Now all of a sudden you bring a different component. Whereas with the Jazz, you're at your ceiling. You're maxed with this group of players. Significant change is required. And by the way, not to be redundant, the Utah Jazz need a win in a bad way. And I don't mean on the floor. I just mean off the floor. With the debacle that was the uniforms, the multiple year after year, losing early in the playoffs, disappointment, Don's going everywhere but Salt Lake City. You need a win. And this Rudy Gobert trade is the best right now opportunity for you to get a win. Because as we've been reporting for 6 months now, this team is all in on Donovan Mitchell. They're going to build this team around him to suit his strengths, whether that's trading Rudy Gobert, whether that's hiring a head coach. They're going to do everything that they can do to placate and keep Donovan Mitchell happy and give him the best opportunity to thrive, Jake. And I think that's exactly what they should be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I say all this nonsense that I'm hearing, from the local media and on Twitter and nationally about how, the Utah Jazz have the option of bringing him back. They don't have to trade, like, quote, they don't have to trade Rudy. Yes, they do. It is not optional. If you don't trade Rudy Gobert, you're going to have more issues this summer. By the way, you sent this to me last night. Anybody see Rudy Gobert's Instagram lately? Yeah, I didn't see any Utah Jazz references on there anymore. So yeah, he knows. He
took it off of his Twitter and Instagram last night.
He knows.
So, yeah, we'll see. This is unfortunately the most difficult part of the equation. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
This is how business is done in the NBA, right? Let's run through some of your comments here. You can see that we're able to put your comments on the screen now because of technology and upgrades and stuff. After today's show, the only way that you'll be able to get your comment on the screen is by leaving us a tip, which you can do at the bottom of the screen here on YouTube. You'll notice a little $sign. Click that $sign, donate $1, $100. Really, we're looking for $1 million donations.
Your entire savings account.
Yeah,
fine.
If you could sell the house and tip us your equity, don't do that. That would be dumb. That would be very dumb. Alex says, do you guys think Mitchell is a good enough playmaker to start at point? I don't know. I don't think you want Donovan Mitchell on the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I think you want a point guard that can handle the ball on a possession in, possession out basis. That's why, in theory, a guy like Lonzo Ball works well, because it'd be nice to have Lonzo Ball bringing the ball up every time and Don off the ball. We saw this with Mike Conley, frankly. We saw this with Joe Ingles when he was here. When Donovan Mitchell's off the ball, he's a far more effective player. Does that change if Donovan comes back with a lethal mid-range game? Yeah, it probably does. It probably does. But I want Donovan Mitchell off the ball. And if that's Mike Conley or whoever winds up being your point guard this year, hey, that's great. I think you need ball generals in depth on this team. I don't think you have Mike Conley's not a starting point guard anymore in this league, in my opinion. Jordan Clarkson's not a point guard. Like, this is the Jared Butler conversation for the Utah Jazz.
Mm-hmm. You
need a guy that can be an on-the-ball general. Jared Butler was drafted to be that guy. Now you got to develop him into that guy. But no, I don't want Don on the ball. I really don't.
Well, and the problem for Donovan Mitchell is he's not 6'6", right? He's like 6'1", 6'2", I think. somewhere in that range.
Thick as hell.
So dude is built like a point guard, but has the tenacity and scoring ability of a shooting guard. And while the league, obviously is positionless, as they say, I do think that Donovan Mitchell's highest best use is off the ball, being fed and put in positions to score. And I'm telling you, right now, we haven't even scratched the surface on Donovan Mitchell's ability. And that's because there hasn't been a roster put around him that really highlights his talents and puts him in prime positions to score. Now, that said, I think that once he is put in that position, and I hope that's this season, but definitely next season, once that happens, there's no excuses for Donovan Mitchell. The Donovan Mitchell is a superstar train will be decided once that happens, because I think he's got a lot of proving to do. I think he can be a superstar in this league, but I think he needs to show that. He needs to show that he can lead a team. That's one of the biggest problems for Donovan Mitchell right now. I need to see that he has matured enough to lead a team through the good and through the bad. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, and I think that's a very interesting question. I wonder how it turns out. Jay Watkins, good morning to you. He says Vooch, Kobe plus multiple picks, plus the 18th pick. I don't know. I mean, the Bulls don't have draft capital. I mean, their future picks are leveraged, and Danny Ainge wants a first-round pick this year for Rudy Gobert, which I'd be asking for as well. I think the Bulls are going to have to flip that 18th pick to get multiple picks to make this deal with the Utah Jazz, in my opinion. So I think that's the only way you make that happen. Brandon White says, good morning to you, my friend. Bulls suck, he says. We tell them what we want or they get nothing.
Well, the problem with that is you that just doesn't work. See what I mean?
I don't think the Bulls suck. I think they what were they last year? 46 and 36
the Bulls are just
or
as good as are equal to the Jazz. They're not a lesser team. They in some instances are better than the Utah Jazz. DeMar DeRozan is a better scoring option than Donovan Mitchell, in my opinion. Zach LaVine is superior to any other secondary player that the Utah Jazz have. So I just think that right now the Jazz, again, are not in a position to say take it or leave it. That's not the position that they're in. They're in the position of they need to work with teams to get a deal done.
Yeah, and I think the Bulls very clearly last year had one of the best years that they've had.
Yeah.
Again, in a decade. So this was a resurgent year for them. But this is a team that faltered late, and they very clearly had an Achilles heel, which is rim protection and defense. And I think if you swap Rudy Gobert for Nikola Vucevic, this is a very different team.
Yeah.
This is a very different team. And if you keep Patrick Williams and Rudy Gobert, now this is a really good defensive team. What do you have to give up? Are you giving up Alex Caruso? He was a key piece of your puzzle last year. One of the reasons the Bulls faltered is when Caruso got, that broken wrist, and
he got Grayson Allen.
Yeah, I mean, he got Grayson Allen and stuff, but the bottom line is I think you're just in a situation where you got to figure out, what you're doing with Rudy. You got to figure out how much you value him and what you need. That to me is a bigger thing. All right. One other thing I want to add into this conversation is the Kyrie Irving conundrum.
Right.
The conversation with Kyrie Irving, because we broke the news on the show yesterday that Kyrie Irving and the Nets have essentially said, hey, no, F you. No, sir, F you. And they're moving on from each other. So Kyrie Irving is readily available. NBA sources told me yesterday that Kyrie's preferred destinations are the LA Lakers and the Miami Heat. The problem is both of those teams trading while they're over the luxury tax would hard cap them, which means under no circumstances could they add salary. So what would have to happen is instead of doing a sign-in trade, which is what would hard cap the Heat and the Lakers, Kyrie Irving's going to have to bite the bullet and take the 1 year he has left at $36 million and find himself a trade to another team, whether that's LA, Miami, or another. He's got to find a way to make that deal happen. And the debate is, how much of a headache is Kyrie Irving, and is he worth it? And Jake, you say unequivocally you don't think he's worth it.
Yeah, he's not worth it. He hasn't shown the ability to win on his own. And I think the problem is that, the last time he did anything of significance in the league, as far as any of these teams that he would want to go to are concerned, was with LeBron. Now, obviously, people are going to say, well, LeBron's a Laker. Why wouldn't they team up? Well, sure, they could team up, and I do think that good things would happen. I think that, they've shown that they can work together. They've shown they've won a championship together. Okay, cool. Put the formula back together, and theoretically, you should be a championship contender. I agree with that one team. But if you're the Utah Jazz, if you're the Miami Heat, if you're any of these other teams that are looking at Kyrie Irving, this guy's missed more. I think it's like 123 games he's missed over the last couple of seasons. Now, again, that thing we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube happened, and so he was out, and, he's got a lot of personal stuff that he brings to the table that I would just like to call baggage. Whatever it is that prevents you from playing as a person, that's baggage. He's got a lot of that, and that's why I say for 99% of the league, he's not a good option. By the way, everyone says, oh, well, he loves his teammates. Well, whether it's his teammates or he's not in tune with his front office, he's a pain in the ass to have on your team. And that's why I would not have Kyrie Irving on my team.
Well, thankfully, you're not the one running the Lakers or the Heat.
Yeah,
because I actually think he's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get comments rolling on Kyrie. If you're just tuning into the show this morning, thank you so much for being here. We're talking about the Utah Jazz trading Rudy Gobert. The latest news on that, the latest details are that the Bulls and the Jazz have the details of a trade worked out, but it's going to require multiple draft picks coming from Chicago to Utah, which means the Chicago Bulls will likely have to trade that number 18 pick to acquire multiple picks to make this deal with the Jazz happen. And the question we've debated this morning is, what is value in return for the Chicago Bulls and for the Utah Jazz? Very clearly, the Jazz would like Patrick Williams. I think the Chicago Bulls would like to include 2 first-round picks, including a pick this year in the first round, and they would like to keep Patrick Williams. I don't see a trade scenario where the Jazz could make that deal and get value. Do you? Because I also don't know, and one of our commenters this morning is asking a very interesting question. Who's the better player in the future? Hullabilly wants to know. Ayo Dosunmu or Jared Butler?
Ayo Dosunmu.
Well, right now, wouldn't you have to say it's Ayo Dosunmu?
I just don't think if you're the Utah Jazz, you can take that risk. You've shown zero ability over the last decade to develop anybody. Donovan Mitchell has developed himself. Rudy Gobert hasn't developed really at all. He's always been a natural, gifted defender. And what else has really developed? Because it wasn't the jumper. It wasn't anything really offensively. Like, there's not been clear development for these guys as far as the Jazz are concerned. So that's why I say I don't think that you can, if you're Danny Ainge, can sit here and say, yeah, we're all of a sudden just going to start developing guys. Because if that was the case, you wouldn't need to ask for Ayo Dosunmu, or you wouldn't feel the need to get that guy. You go in the draft, you'd get this deal done, and you would turn whatever you got out of the draft into a contributor.
And look, I as many of you know, I'm a huge Chicago Bulls fan. Like, I grew up in Chicago. If you look behind us, we have the Mike Gatorade poster. Ayo Dosunmu is a quality young player in this league.
Yeah.
But Ayo Dosunmu is also a Chicago kid. Ayo Dosunmu is a University of Illinois alum. Like, this is a Chicago guy.
Yeah.
And he showed his three-point shooting got better last year. Every game he played, Ayo Dosunmu is a guy that the Bulls value at a high level. The Bulls, I think, know they need to add Rudy Gobert. I would just be surprised if they're willing to do Patrick Williams and or Ayo Dosunmu. I just, with where they were last year, I would just be really surprised by that.
Ayo Dosunmu was a key contributor for them. Make no mistake about it. I mean, I wouldn't want to move him either. Patrick Williams, on the other hand, I think it's viable to move him because you're getting Rudy Gobert. That is I want to be specific. The reason that they can bring on Rudy and be okay with losing Patrick Williams is because you have other guys who play good defense. I mean, DeMar plays solid defense. Zach typically plays solid defense. The issue that I have with Zach is he hasn't stayed healthy. That's the problem with Zach LaVine. So that's what I'm saying. Like, these all come down to preferences and choices. So for me, I would make the deal if I was the Bulls. If I was the Jazz, I would not make the deal if it was just picks, because like the Celtics developed Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. But how long did that take? And this is, I think, a really important point in these conversations we're having this morning. How long have we been watching Jaylen and Jason struggle to get to the NBA Finals? What has it been, 4 seasons now? I think probably 3-4 seasons that they've been working together, trying to make it happen. In Tatum's rookie year, he posterizes LeBron in the Eastern Conference Finals. So these guys were showing ability, and it just took time to develop. Danny Ainge isn't in that position. The stated goal, once again, is to be a postseason contender.
Yeah, but I think the other issue for Chicago is they don't have power forward depth. I mean, their one power forward on this roster is Patrick Williams. And I think when you look at the other bigs that they run right now, I mean, you look at Vucevic, obviously, we know how soft he is. You look at Derek Jones Jr., he's not really a power forward. He's more of a 3 than he is even a 5 or a 4. Tony Bradley's a big, but like they don't have another power forward on this team.
Yeah.
That's why I also think it's interesting. Bojan Bogdanovic has to have value to them. He has to have value to them. If you traded Bojan Bogdanovic in this deal to Chicago, and I don't know what it would take to make the money work there, but if you were able to do that, and I'm not saying they will, that has real value to the Chicago Bulls because they don't have a guy of that ilk, right? But I still maintain a third team is the best option in this deal.
Yeah.
Because the Bulls have needs. The Bulls are light up front. Like, I mean, you're talking about Tristan Thompson probably being your best center option. If you trade Vooch,
yeah,
I think your best center option is Tony Bradley and Tristan Thompson.
Yeah.
I mean, so obviously you have to have Rudy Gobert. Like, that's the only reason you make this trade from the Chicago side.
Yeah.
But you still have issues at power forward.
And that's what I'm saying. It doesn't solve all their needs one way or the other. Even if you keep Patrick Williams, he's the only guy you got. Like, at that position. And so I don't know, man. I just think that
$41 million becomes a ball breaker.
It does for anybody. But the fact is that, again, the trouble is Danny Ainge isn't in a position to dictate to these teams. And I think that ultimately is why they will do the deal with the picks.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it'll be really interesting to see where this deal ends up. I also think it's going to be very interesting to see, what happens at the top of this draft. Because, there are so many teams out there. Like, I think one round left makes a really good point. I really hope the Jazz go with Atlanta. Apparently, they are the most aggressive team right now in the trade market. The Atlanta Hawks are really trying to make a deal.
Yeah.
The problem is, in a Rudy Gobert scenario, the Atlanta Hawks have made it pretty clear that you're going to have to take Clint Capella and John Collins, which brings you more problems.
Yeah.
And they're not willing to include DeAndre Hunter in that deal. That's not a deal. I mean, if they truly want the Utah Jazz to take Kevin Huerter, and they want the Utah Jazz to take Clint Capella, and they want the Utah Jazz to take John Collins, that's not a trade. That's not a deal that makes sense for the Utah Jazz.
I think
it just doesn't.
We've seen a lot of noise about John Collins going places in the league as far as like other teams. Like, yesterday there was a report about the Kings being interested in John Collins. So I think if you're the Utah Jazz and Danny Ainge, I think you're sitting here saying, okay, maybe we drop the John Collins request, but let's prioritize DeAndre Hunter then, because if I'm not getting John Collins, then I definitely have to have DeAndre Hunter. That ain't even a conversation in my opinion. So but do you see what I'm saying? Like, as we go through all these trade scenarios, do you see what's the trend that's happening here? Hey, you have Rudy Gobert. Hey, you're locked on money. Hey, you don't have picks. So here's what we're willing to give you, take it or leave it. It's coming back to the Jazz that way. Like, the Jazz are not saying, we've got Rudy, this is what we want, take it or leave it. That's not the flow of conversation.
No, but I also think when you look at the Atlanta deal is just so much more complex.
But I don't think it has to be, though. That's the thing. I don't think it has to be.
But again, value is the thing. I want nothing to do with Clint Capella. I mean, honestly, and I know we've talked about this deal at depth last week on the show. I mean, we're the first ones that had it, frankly. So we've been looking at it a lot longer than most. Clint Capella is not valued.
But Capella versus
I would rather have Vucevic. I think he brings you more offensively, and I know that we're talking about the value of Rudy Gobert, and I know that we're talking about how close the Jazz are to making that deal.
Yeah,
but to me, Clint Capella, he's a known entity. I know what Clint Capella is. I know that he is a huge money guy that gives you a little bit here and a little bit there. John Collins is a guy that can jump out of the gym. He can rim protect, and he can shoot the three a little bit. He's a really good rebounder. He's an athlete. He can defend three positions. Like, I like John Collins a hell of a lot more than I like Clint Capella.
Y'all feel me?
But I am not, in my opinion, I'm not willing to take back 3 contracts that are longer in term, that handicap you, that don't give you flexibility, that don't allow you to get better as a team. And I look at Kevin Huerter, and Kevin's a nice player. He's a nice player. But I feel like Kevin's pretty much at his ceiling, and he's going into a deal that I think is 4 years and is averaging like $19 million a year. That's not a smart acquisition for the Utah Jazz.
4 years, $65 million deal. Once again, escalating on the deal. This year it's 14.5. Next year it's 15.5. The year after it's 16.8. The following year, which would be 25, 26 to 17.9.
I can't see doing that. And you got to take Clint Capella. But I'm not willing to do
the
that.
other side of this conversation, and I don't disagree. I'm not arguing that point. I agree with you on that. But I think the other thing that we haven't mentioned here is age of player. That's the other thing we're not talking about.
Yeah,
Kevin
absolutely.
Huerter is only 23 years old. And the guy, clearly, you don't get paid that kind of money without performing on some level. But I do agree. He's that guy that is a shoot-first guy, like a 3 and a little bit of D guy, not like a 3 and lock you up defense guy.
Yeah.
So, he's trending more Duncan Robinson than Bojan Bogdanovic. And that's the concern that I would have. But I have to say, the Capella versus Vooch thing, I think, is super dynamic and a super good conversation because both of them, in my opinion, are known commodities, as you were saying about Capella. We know what Vooch is.
Yeah.
We know what Capella is. We know they have strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. Yes.
And we also know that Capella was a savage in Houston with one guy, and that's James Harden. Their pick and roll chemistry, just those two, Capella was really good. I can't say the same about him being with the Jazz. I don't know that works that way.
Well, and I also think Capella brings you, he can play a little defense. He's a really good rebounder. But, they both are.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the Vucevic versus Clint Capella conversation is an interesting one.
It's fascinating.
Because they both do very different things.
Yeah.
Nikola Vucevic just does not defend. He is not somebody you want in a defensive set. Clint Capella can give you a little scoring, but he isn't a shooter. He's not the shooter that Vucevic is.
Yep.
So I guess it just depends.
What are you prioritizing? Do you want to space the floor, or do you want a guy that's going to protect the paint?
And what is it, if you make the Bulls deal, what does that mean for Hassan Whiteside? I think that means you got to value Hassan Whiteside a little more.
Yeah, I think that no matter what deal you make, whether it is Capella you get back or whether you get Vucevic back, either way, one way or the other, Hassan Whiteside is still going to get plenty of minutes because neither one of these guys is what Rudy Gobert was. And by the way, it should also be said that Quinn was taking Rudy out, 7 minutes into the game a lot of nights. Like Hassan was getting plenty of minutes. So that's why I say, either way, it's still going to be center by committee on this team. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, and we'll see. And I think one of the more interesting comments is this one right here from Tanner Plummer and the Jazz get D'Angelo Russell, right, Alex? Because Alex said, get Minnesota involved to take Capella, because one of the things we know is that the Minnesota Timberwolves would like to add Clint Capella. And I actually think that'd be a good ad for them. And they want to move D'Angelo Russell. I think D'Angelo's a really good fit in Utah. Obviously he's a 3-point guy. He's a versatile guy that can create his own shot. He can bring a lot of weapons to you offensively, and he's actually not awful defensively.
He creates space.
So he does create space for Donovan. I agree with that. So I think, I absolutely would agree with that if you can get Minnesota involved, that'd be great. And I know that the Jazz, T-Wolves, and Celtics were talking last year when the whole Marcus Smart thing was happening, but the Jazz weren't able to get that deal done. So there is likely an open line of communication there. But I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see where all this hashes out, because I think this is a very complex trade to make. But, Tanner Plummer also says, I hate to be a complainer.
Complain,
so here
please,
comes the complaint.
Please.
He says, the video now looks too bright.
Okay.
Sorry, but you asked for feedback on how the setup looks.
The way you're reading that, though.
My God.
Hey guys.
Well, Tanner yesterday said it wasn't bright enough.
Yeah, we're trying to find. So it's trial and error for us. It's like, as he said earlier in the show, this is our second show with the new setup. So a lot of this is trial and error. I am happy to hear that we're not getting audio complaints, which tells me that we were able to figure that out on some level. But I would love to know how the audio sounds today versus yesterday for people who listened yesterday.
Yeah, Tanner also has breaking news now.
Oh, wow.
Woj tweeted this a few minutes ago. Nicholas Batum. Batum goes to Dynamite.
Yeah.
Batum goes to Dynamite.
Right. I see what he did there. Boom and Batum, and and it all kind of works together.
He's opted out of his deal, but he is expected to go back to the LA Clippers.
Yeah, they need to restructure his deal for money purposes.
Yep, I would agree. One Round Left says we're more than likely going to have to bring back Whiteside if we acquire Vucevic. Somebody may throw him a mid-level exception this summer, though. I think he's just such a mercurial figure. Like, I don't think we have any idea what he is.
And that's the other thing, too. And then we should probably move on. But, because, we got to get to Kyrie and stuff. But, that's the other thing you got to consider. This deal and the deals that they make, a lot of these guys aren't going to be here long term. The Vucevic's of the world, these are transactional players. These are not guys that you're building some championship club around. These are guys that are just going to be here for a cup of coffee. You're going to move on from them. And it ultimately, that's what I'm saying. This first deal is huge. He's not coming back, bro. You need to move him.
Coming back.
And then hopefully with what deal you're able to make, it gives you breathing space to make another deal out of that one.
Yeah, you need to make the Rudy deal.
Yeah, it's got to happen.
You have to do that. All right, let's talk NBA draft because I think this is a big part of this. Chaboy.
Yeah.
You're a huge Chet Holmgren guy.
I am. Big believer.
You're
big believer.
That's a slurp fest for
It is. It is absolutely a slurpathon. Yeah. Slurping it up, man.
Why? The guy weighs like 37 pounds.
Seems like a great opportunity to slurp and splash.
Yeah, man. Guy can get buckets.
Wow.
He can get buckets.
What is it that you like about him?
I like that he's a 7-footer. He's not 6'10". He's 7 feet tall, as listed. I like that he has a good feel for the game, meaning that he's not taking terrible shots. Like, he understands how to work to get a good shot for himself. I do think that, if we're directly comparing him to Kevin Durant is more athletic than Chet Holmgren was at the same age. Kevin Durant had more shooting ability than Chet has at the same age. Like, I think that Kevin Durant was just further along than Chet is currently. That said, I still think that Chet Holmgren has a lot of flashes of what Kevin was at that age, meaning a really wiry, thin-framed guy. This guy's 7 feet tall. He's 195 pounds, so he's not a real thick guy. He is wiry, tall, skinny dude who needs to lift weights, and I'm not even joking. The guy has got to put muscle on, and my biggest concern with Chet is that he is going to pick up that major injury in his rookie year because he is so slight, because he hasn't played against full grown-ass men in the NBA who are strong and have been lifting and are just bulls. That's a different beast. So I like him mainly because he can shoot the basketball at a really high level. That's what I like about Chet.
What I would say is, and the reason I'm a Jabari Smith guy, is because I think Jabari's ready to play defense in the NBA. Mm-hmm. And that's my biggest concern about Chet Holmgren is I just don't see that Chet's a guy who's built to play NBA basketball right now today. I think you put a 6'10 Jabari Smith on the floor in Orlando, and he makes a lot of sense. Obviously, he brings a wide skill set, but he can defend, really 2, 3, 4. And some people believe that he can defend point in this league. I don't want Jabari Smith defending Trae Young. I don't want him, but he can defend a guy like a Luka Doncic, right? Luka's probably going to get the better of that matchup, but Jabari can compete. And that's what I like about him. He's more NBA ready than Chet. And let's be honest, Chet Holmgren, my bro, let's get you some fettuccine. Let's get you into the weight room. Can we get some Olympic lifting? Lift? Yeah, do you even lift? Like, Chet, we need to get some muscle on that body.
Obviously
man.
not.
And I don't think it's crazy to compare him to Kevin Durant. I don't compare anybody to KD. Chet Holmgren can shoot. He's got a bit of a handle, more than a bit of a handle. The guy can move the ball. But how does he score at the rim in this league? That's the biggest question.
I don't think he's going to be that guy. I don't think he's going to be Mr. at the rim. I think he is a mid-range sniper guy. I think that he's and there's not a lot of comparables because he is 7 foot, but I think, not that he is anything like Dirk was, but I think that when you think about Dirk's game,
but do you hear the names you're throwing out there?
Dude, I don't think you understand how clean this guy's shot is, how capable he is of scoring and at the rate that he can. I agree with you. Jabari Smith is definitely the better guy. I don't.
Chet Holmgren is listed at 196 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, watching him in conference this year, that's generous. That guy must have like boulders in his pocket when he's taking that weight.
I'm just telling
He's
you, man.
not 200
I'm just
pounds.
telling you, anytime you've got a guy that can handle and can shoot, yes, he needs to lift weights. I've said that repeatedly over the last 5 minutes. He does need to strengthen his body. He doesn't have an NBA body right this second. But what he is 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that. You can't teach length. You can't teach height. So if he puts on weight, he's going to be able to get to spots. And that's what I'm saying. Like, he is not going to be posterized, you guy. He is going to be elbow jumper, 3-point guy. That's what he's going to do.
Yeah. Some of the comments are funny, like Tanner Plummer saying, what is it with Jake with tall, slender basketball players? I don't know. TPG says the next.
What is it with Jazz fans with guys who are 6'1" and are trying to be superstars?
Okay, here we go.
What is it? I
go.
want to ask that question. If I like tall, slim guys, what is it with Jazz fans in 6'1" guys? Like,
Come on,
you know
man.
what I mean? I mean, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. You can't teach 7 feet tall, bro.
Oh, my God.
You can't teach it.
Well, if Chet starts to switch teams in order to chase a ring, then we can compare him to KD, Tanner said.
Y'all feel me?
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree, as I've said.
Oh,
Buddy is a ring chaser. It's true.
That is a kick in the bag to Chaboy, Kevin Durant.
It's true, though. He's not wrong.
Look at your
Dude ain't
boy.
wrong.
Look at your boy over your shoulder,
Dude
man.
ain't wrong, man. This dude's a ring chaser. We all know that. We know that, man.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, we know that.
That was savage.
Yeah, we know that.
Savage. James Knight says, come on, Jake, you're losing cred with this take, bro.
No, I'm not. You always say that. That's what I love. Everyone always says, oh, you're losing credibility.
Oh.
You guys hate Rudy Gobert. You guys don't know what you're talking about. And then, by the way, Chet Holmgren is going to roll out with 20 in his rookie season, and everyone's going to be like, oh, yeah, he can play.
Chet's going to put on number 7, and he's never going to look back.
Yeah, he can play. Yeah, I know he can play,
outta
guy.
here.
I know he can play.
Get out of here. I mean, and by the way, if we're seriously talking about what, let's see. Where is he? Jaden Ivey is who I'm looking for. Yeah, Jaden Ivey from Purdue. How many people have a boner over Jaden Ivey? Like, this is a guy that it seems like, and if I'm Sacramento at number 4, I'm trading out because everybody and their brother wants Jaden Ivey. So, hey, give me multiple picks and I'll turn those guys into stars. Well, it's Sacramento, so you don't turn guys into stars. But the point is, Jaden Ivey might be the hottest guy in the league right now, as far as the draft goes.
Yeah, I mean, this draft has a ton of talent. That's why I say, if you're the Utah Jazz, getting draft capital, specifically top 10 draft capital in the first round, is very valuable. The problem is I don't trust that they can develop these guys. That's the issue.
Boncaro or Holmgren?
Boncaro. He's more ready now. Well, it depends on the team. I mean, if you're talking about a team that,
Houston at number 3.
If you're Houston, I think you want Boncaro. But I think if you're, I think specifically if you're an Eastern Conference team, I think Chet's pretty attractive.
But I think, first of all, I think Jabari goes number 1. I think Chet goes number 2. I think Boncaro goes number 3.
Yeah.
Right?
Those are by far the 3 best players in the draft.
And I think Jaden Ivey goes 4 to somebody.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Kings will draft there. But I think when you start looking at the other pool, I don't know that Jaden Ivey ever lives up to it because of that hype. But I got to tell you that my other guy in this draft is, where's Keegan Murray? There he is right there. The Pistons are said to be drafting Keegan Murray 5. That would be amazing. I mean, I think he has a chance. I think the Pistons, now, I mean, they got to trade Jeremy Grant. But as soon as they make that deal, I think they become a much better team. Because you need to go, and this is what I say about the Houston Rockets, and I know everybody says I'm crazy about the Rockets.
Hey, you don't know what you're talking about, bro.
I'm telling you, the Rockets are doing this the right way. The Rockets are young, and they are suffering through their youth, which is exactly what Golden State did.
Yep.
Which is exactly what the Suns did with Book.
Yeah.
Like, if I am the Houston Rockets, that's what I would be doing. The Detroit Pistons have Cade. They have talent. I'm telling you, get a haul for Jeremy Grant. And if you can get Keegan Murray, I mean, I think he is.
Sky's the limit.
6'8", 220.
Yeah. I mean, so you see what I mean? So it's like, would you rather have 6'8", 220, or would you rather have, 7 foot 195? I think right now in today's league, you want 6'8", 220. I think you do, 100%. But I just think that the thing about Chet Holmgren that I like versus a couple of these other options is I just think that his ability at his height is just so rare, bro. Like, it is so rare. If there's even a 1% chance that dude can get to 205, 210 pounds inside of that frame, you got a problem on your hands, dude. He is going to be a problem. And that's why I say I think he's worth the risk. I agree with you. There are better options right here today. Banchero is a better option, in my opinion, for a winning club. Like, if you can trade up and go and pick him up, great. I think he's a great option. I think Jabari, great option. These are all guys that are going to be contributors right now today. But I think when we talk about most upside, most of like, hey, I'm here, but I want to get there, that's Chet Holmgren.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see exactly what happens with Chet. I think he is a fascinating prospect.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say, and I hope we don't do it, and well, too late. We try to build guys up to be, he's the next Kevin Durant.
He's an assassin.
I mean, look at the shape and size of his unit. Like,
bro, come on. It's Chet Holmgren.
settle down.
Come on.
Like, we don't need to be comparing Chet Holmgren to Kevin Durant, Dirk Nowitzki. Like, I think we're asking too much of these guys. You got to let them come in and develop. And I think Chet's a really talented player. None of these top 5 guys frankly, none of these top 5 guys should struggle to assimilate to the NBA game. Mm-hmm. They shouldn't. But I think our expectations are what are going to limit the top end for these guys.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I just think that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. That's my opinion. Okay, a couple more comments in here because then we got to get rolling to burger joints that are killing you. Tanner Plummer says, wow, dang, I haven't heard the bag alert drop in a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
bag alert's a good drop.
Yeah, dude, it's a really good drop.
It is. TPG says Chet is nowhere near Dirk. I don't know that anybody will be.
I'm not saying that the guy is Dirk right now. What I'm saying is that he's not the guy that's going to go up and posterize you. That's not his game. That's not what he's trying to do. He did that, yes, coming up, but that's because he was bigger than everybody else. When you're talking about the NBA game, I'm talking about a guy that really should translate to a lethal mid-range player, like someone who's just going to shoot over you, and he needs to develop his post game. Like, that's why I think that the Dirk comparison is there.
Interesting question. Havoc says, in your opinion, who has the biggest potential to become a top 20 player of all time? Well, Banchero or Chet Holmgren.
Yeah.
I mean, they're upsides. I mean, Keegan's a nice player too. But I think, and frankly, I think Keegan Murray could have been the best player in college basketball last year. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many people would agree with me on that. Probably not many. But when you talk about like all-time great talent, I don't even know that you can pass the name Chet Holmgren. I mean, he's a guy that, if you believe the hype and the skill set, you would have to go with Chet.
I mean, I think, again, it's all about development. I mean, it's all about, again,
yes.
there's no price you can put on a player's willingness to work in the summer. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And Chet has clearly shown his desire to work. But, like, again, when you get that money, when you get, $40 million or whatever the hell he's going to get for being the second overall pick, like, that changes you. Obviously, that's going to change you. So we'll see.
Nicholas Stalzer, I hope I'm saying that right, says Chet is garbage. He averaged 14 points a game. KD averaged 28 his freshman year.
Right, and I'm not saying he is Kevin Durant. That's not what I said. So you need to listen to what I'm saying. Actually listen to what I'm saying.
Damn it, you casuals.
I'm saying that, hey, his game is similar. There's a lot of flashes of these guys. Like, hey, tall, wiry frame, can shoot over anybody, clearly has great touch for his jumper, should really translate to a lethal mid-range player.
And I would agree there's comparisons. I think KD was a far more developed
more athletic.
player.
KD is more explosive. KD has a better shot than Chet has. Like, I'm not saying that Chet is as good as Kevin Durant was. I clearly said he wasn't. Like, clearly.
Kenny says, so what you're saying is Chet is KD.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not at all. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. Hulla Billy says Chet is not garbage. No, he's not garbage at all. At all. Good news. Good news. Everybody ready? Ben Gomez says Jesus Christ loves all of you. Not Jake. He doesn't, because Jesus Christ is a Chet Holmgren responsible. And we all know that Chet's not KD because Jake just said he's not KD. Jesus Christ loves Chet Holmgren.
Well,
Okay. Kenny says got it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah,
We're
I'm not really
somewhere.
sure what we just talked about, but okay, yeah.
Does Jesus play basketball?
He does. He's
Is
everybody.
it Jesus? Wait, I didn't know we had a lot of Mexican players in the league.
Wow. Okay, here we go.
Where's the Italian?
Is it George or Jorge? Is it Jesus or Jesus? It is what it is. Havoc says, I think Mrs. Monty piping in from heaven. Havoc says, I think judging a top prospect without playing a single game in the NBA isn't fair. Who's going 13th this year? We need another Donovan Mitchell. It could be, Jorge versus George is apparently a big topic of conversation.
Here we go.
All right. So make sure you follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show. Now, can we talk about the topic that everybody cares about?
Right.
Which burger joint is killing people?
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Because this is a problem.
Right.
This is a problem, friends. So, on this show, and I know this is shocking. I know it is
controversial and shocking
that on this show, we talk a lot about food.
Right. Yeah.
We talk a lot about food.
Right.
I have a gland issue. It makes me gain weight.
You have a gland issue.
It's genetics
right.
and stuff. What? No. Anyway, we love burgers on this show.
Right.
We don't eat many burgers, but when we do, we all know we go to Five Guys.
Right.
He's an assassin.
But then there's this story, Jake.
Yeah.
That says that there are burger chains and one famous burger chain.
4 burger chains with the most food quality complaints. Okay? Most food quality complaints. Very simple here. First one, White Castle.
Oh. And White Castle is legendary, friends. White Castle, for those of our Phoenix, Arizona listeners, you've got multiple beautiful White Castle establishments. But doesn't it say that White Castle is killing people or making them sick? Yes,
it causes
And we should clarify this. They're not killing people. These are the top restaurants and burger joints that make people sick when you eat them.
Yeah, most food complaints. Top food complaints. So the quote from the article is, eating food from White Castle can result in food poisoning. The restaurant chain recalled frozen sandwiches in 2019. Listeria is the most commonly reported diagnosis from White Castle, and diarrhea and nausea are the most commonly reported symptoms.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It's not
It's
good.
a problem, bro. It is an absolute problem. And again, you're not getting good quality food. You know that. But that doesn't mean
White Castle.
It's White Castle. It's the sliders. It's like 10 sliders in 5 minutes. Like that's what you do. That said, Jack in the Box is still better.
As a kid, one of my favorite things to do was go to the Chicago Cub game, and you could walk by. There's a White Castle down the street from Wrigley Field. It's about a mile away.
Right.
You would get off the train, go to the White Castle, get a sack of burgers, and while you're walking to Wrigley, you eat the White Castle.
Because it's all part of the plan.
And then you go watch a day of Cubs baseball. And to me, I don't know. I love Are you a White Castle guy?
I think that, White Castle is one of those things that I had never had before we lived in Scottsdale. I had it and I was like, it was good, but not great. Like with Jack, I'm like, yes, I'm ready, bro.
Dude,
I
White
know.
Castle is good.
It's not bad. I mean, outside of the fact it gives you diarrhea, but we won't talk about that.
Who hasn't had
Really?
What? Who hasn't had? Whoa! Hey, look at this, Monty.
Whoa!
Very focused in.
Whoa!
Hi. Well, if you're gonna shove 10 tiny hamburgers down, you're gonna barf anyways. So
no, you're not. No, you're not.
What?
See, this is the problem with.
Are you offended?
No, you're not. I can eat a whole sack of White Castles and not even feel a thing.
When was the last time this happened? When was the last time you ate a whole sack of White Castle?
Well, it was. Let me tell you what now. It was back in Scottsdale with the late great Napa Mike.
Yep.
When we went to the grand opening of White
right
Castle.
off the 101 at Pima, and they have a beautiful double lane drive-through.
I didn't smell any listeria at the White Castle.
Yeah.
When we were in Scottsdale, and I got to tell you, I snatched up that bag like it was nobody's business. See, like I snatched.
Wow.
Yeah.
You snatched up the bag.
I snatched up the bag.
It was a major bag alert.
It was a major.
Right.
It was okay. Fine. Be a jerk. Number 2 on the list.
Sonic.
Oh, Sonic the shit. I mean the hedgehog. Sonic is not. Sonic's food is amazing. So Sonic had I lived in suburban Chicago, and
Right.
there were plenty of Sonics in the northern suburbs. And Sonic is terrible.
So the complaints are that they recorded the popcorn chicken as dry and underseasoned, and the French fries were reported for their soggy and unappetizing flavor. They also said a former Sonic employee said the chicken was often kept outside of the fridge for several hours. This is cause for concern, especially since the FDA states raw chicken has to be stored in the fridge at 40 degrees, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. And then the other thing was that one of the claims is that the ice cream comes in bags marked 10% real ice cream. So it's not even like real.
And what do you get milkshakes at Sonic?
Yeah.
You
So
get,
that's their big thing.
Are
It's
you
like
kidding
the
me?
mega size,
And their ice cream and milkshakes are only 10%. Are you serious?
apparently. Yeah.
This is all wrong.
Look at
This
the look
is
on
all
Mrs. Monty's
wrong.
face.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean, she's not amused
Okay,
right now.
soggy fries, first off, with a bad taste.
yes.
Wrong. All wrong. And then you top that off with like one of their giant, super sugary, whatever flavored drinks.
Yes.
Oh,
That's what we call
and
greatness.
some dry nuggets.
Yeah. Oh, hey,
Are
baby.
we clear on that?
Oh,
Who don't want them some dry nuggets?
I'm gonna. Oh
I got some dry nuggets for you. Number
Oh.
3 on the list.
no.
Wow. I don't even. Number
What?
3 on the list. See, this is a problem. Burger King.
Oh, okay. What's the complaint at Burger King?
So the complaint at Burger King. Let's see. I got to find it real quick. So the biggest complaint with Burger King is that their food is sloppy, and I have to tell you, I agree. Every time I go to Burger King, I always wind up feeling like, damn, this burger is just a mess. Like it's falling all over the
But
place.
that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, Carl's Jr. made a living on if it's not all over your face, you're not in the place or whatever. You're in the wrong stuff.
The
and
complaint
Yeah.
from
Right.
consumers is that they were sold moldy Whoppers and
Oh!
caused customers to crave the burger less. It was pretty
Oh
pretty gross. I appreciate
my
no
God.
artificial stuff, but it was not appetizing.
Oh my!
So
The complaint is they sold moldy Whoppers.
Yeah, that was the complaint. They felt like there was mold on it.
I'm kind of confused. There's so much preservatives in their food.
But
Was it the bun that was moldy? Maybe
Had
the
to be.
cheese was moldy.
No, oh come on, moldy cheese.
they don't,
Come
they
on.
don't specify in the
No.
complaint. Yeah, here
moldy
anyway.
Whoppers. Oh come on.
Mm.
And then
That's
everybody's favorite, Dairy Queen.
Oh my God.
Dairy Queen
Oh.
is next on the complaint, and basically
on.
the complaint said that the consumer was complaining about sandwiches, saying that the cheese was lackluster and that the beef was like really dry and like very like
Oh.
crumbly.
There's only one reason
Come
why
on.
you go to Dairy
Yeah,
Queen.
you don't go for burgers at Dairy
Yeah,
Queen.
like
Can we
please
just get on the same
don't
page
eat
with that?
there like it's a restaurant. You get blizzards or ice cream.
Ah.
That is the
Yeah,
only reason
it's-
why you go
yeah,
to Dairy
it's
Queen.
not good.
But I've gone to Dairy Queen. Have we ever had? When's the last time we ate at Dairy Queen?
Dairy Queen's got good fries.
Okay,
though.
I'm gonna
Dude.
say like 8. Last time we ate at Dairy Queen, and never.
Never.
But the last time that that we had any kind of a Dairy Queen item, yeah, Phoenix.
Phoenix.
It had to be Phoenix.
no, God Almighty.
You know,
That's disgusting. Like,
So there you
come
go.
on.
The 4 worst chains.
Now, I will say though, the
Mhm.
Impossible Whopper is pretty flaming good. Like it is.
See what he did there? Pretty flaming good because it's a burger and
Yeah, it's flaming, the flame broiled.
The
The
Yeah.
Impossible Whopper is really good. Like I enjoy it. We probably have Mrs. Monty and I probably have. Yeah, we probably have an Impossible Whopper a month.
Yeah.
And
Nah, I mean not a month.
Okay.
but like maybe once or twice a quarter.
Where are we at on JCWs? Because this is a more localized one. Where are we
Oh,
at on
boy.
JCWs?
oh boy. So for my Utah people, where are you at with JCWs? I don't know. I like JCW's food a lot. The problem with the JCWs in South Jordan is that it's 45 minutes. I mean,
Right.
and this is the main thing. I really like the burger. The fries, Mrs. Monty, didn't we have like onion rings or last time we went there? Like the food was not.
It's fine. I was disappointed they did not have the veggie patty anymore, and they didn't have an Impossible. They were like completely out of an alternative burger. So
what is our go? I mean, obviously the go-to is Five Guys.
Not even close. Five Guys all day.
Right? I mean,
fries, burger.
The one thing we're not talking about, or the one restaurant we're not talking about, is Wendy's, because I actually think Wendy's. I don't know if Five Guys, and I know we've talked about this a million times. Five Guys is not fast food.
No.
Okay, Five Guys is a cut above Chamama. Like it's like
Y'all
it's
feel me?
It's not McDonald's
really?
or
Yes.
yeah, it is. You don't think it is?
no, it just doesn't have a drive-through. That's just not their model.
No, I think it's higher
if you
quality.
put a drive-through on there, it'd be just the same as the rest.
The quality would go down, I feel like.
I agree. I think Five Guys is a cut above. But when we're talking about like purely wrap it in foil and go straight to your arteries, okay, Five Guys qualifies. But when we're talking about like, hey, damn, that's a good burger, Five Guys is on a different level.
Yeah.
But the Dave's Double.
Dave's Double's good, bro.
There's nothing wrong with a Dave's Double.
Yeah.
And again, fast food French fries, it depends. Is Five Guys? Yeah, Five Guys has
Five
the best
Guys.
fries. It has the best fries.
You see what I mean? No,
By
Five
far.
Guys has the best
Fries.
total
Definitely.
Yeah.
Great
Yes.
burger, great fries.
Yes.
Their shake
Yes.
game is strong too, even
Yes.
though we don't indulge that much. Like,
Yes.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
like
but
the Dave's Double is good, but the fries suck. I'm not a Wendy's
I'm not
fry
a
guy.
Wendy's fry guy. But I'm not a Burger King fry guy either, though.
Yeah.
Now, when Jack in the Box opens
I'm not
here,
a big Burger King guy overall, bro. I'm not a big fan of that.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how you'd stay so hard on the Jack train.
It's
Because
incredible.
Dude,
bro.
I love it.
The ultimate cheeseburger. It's fire. Like,
You're not.
what are the comments saying? What are we getting in the comment section?
All right, let's get the comment section in here and say your comment interaction rate has exploded with this new layout. Very cool and professional. Thanks, Kenny. Appreciate that. Let's see. Hullabilly says JCW's is all right. AB's used to be my go-to.
AB.
AB's. What's AB's?
Is that Arby's?
Astro
No.
Burger?
Oh, Astro Burger.
Astro
But
Burger.
see, here's the
No.
problem.
Then he
Here's
said used to. Let's
Yeah.
line that out.
Let
He
him
said used to.
comment again.
Not
used
anymore.
to. Used to. I would agree with
anymore.
not anymore. We just went to Astro Burger. It was not good. Let's see. Crown Burger is always good. Hullabilly says yes.
Yeah.
EST Gaming Pro says Five Guys is good. Bang for buck. The best burger is Culver's.
Okay, see, that's fair.
Bang
Five
for
Guys
buck.
is super expensive. That's true.
Bang for buck.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Well, see, here's an interesting one. Luis Capazzo says Habit is bomb. Now,
Nah.
I think I've had Habit Burger once.
We had it a ton in the Bay Area. Not a fan.
I think I had it one time in Walnut Creek,
Yeah.
right, when we lived there.
Now we had it more
Did,
than
Mrs.
once.
Monty, did you ever eat it? Habit Burger?
I think a couple of times maybe.
Because there was the
But,
one that was in downtown
like,
Walnut Creek that
yeah.
we would go to.
Oh, Cam Harrison nails it. The Big H. Hires Big H.
Okay, hands down. Patty melt. You can get a patty melt with actually a
Notice the
plant-based
passion goes
burger.
But yeah, like but a real
100%.
milkshake, though.
Yeah, and a malt. Let's talk a malt.
But what do you think of their onion rings?
Onion rings are fabulous.
Damn, I wonder
Hires
if
is
we could get some
amazing.
gift cards from Hires.
Dude,
To
I'm
give out on
telling
the
you,
show, bro.
I'm telling you, Hires is.
Yeah.
Hullabilly says it was called AB's, not Astro. I'd never heard of
Oh,
AB's.
I've never heard.
No,
of
I
these.
don't know.
Yeah, that's different.
Let's see. Luis Capazzo says Jack in the Box tacos are tasty. Hell yeah.
they are.
Unless you're Mrs. Monty and then you don't. But you like the mini tacos.
The
They're,
mini taco box.
it would definitely be something I would eat if I was still out at 2 a.m. and having
Like last
come on, we
weekend,
smashed
like you
that
were
when we
last
were
week
there.
in Seattle.
what?
You drunkard. What? Tanner Plummer says my wife wants to know what you guys think of Jack in the Box. It's
guys.
it's the best.
It's by
fast food.
far the best fast food in my opinion. I don't think it's
Ultimate
close.
cheeseburger.
What is wrong with you two?
We have taste. That's what's
Ultimate
wrong with us.
cheeseburger, 2 tacos, and a large.
Why
fry.
are you so disgusted by Jack in the Box?
It is not high quality.
We're
There's no quality
But
there.
we're not
You
talking
said
about-
best
yeah.
fast food.
It's tasty, man. It's
Okay,
good.
but that's a fair point. What defines best? When I say best fast food, I'm talking about the one I like the most, not quality. Like that's
okay,
a
well
fair
that's
question.
different.
That's different I think
because
that's
you might
fair.
want to mac on a disgusting,
So if we're talking best
greasy-
quality, then it has to be Five Guys, right? Like best overall quality has to be Five Guys. Is that what we're saying?
for fries, yeah.
Well, but you're
I'm going
vegetarian,
for
you're not
quality.
burger
When I say best, I'm going for quality. And I really, although I don't know, Hires would
Hires
probably
is
be
a good poll, man.
A patty melts if you can get a good patty melt. You want the cheese that's oozing. You want the grilled onions, like that taste wrapped up in the paper with the malt and some onion rings. Thank you. I think I made everyone salivate.
Why are you so passionate about
But hold on. Is Hires Big H fast food? Because I don't think that's fast food, bro.
Yeah, it is. What do you mean?
That's not a drive-through. That's a drive up and sit. That's not a drive-through.
I don't know. How do you define fast food? It does. It has now the Hires that's in West Jordan. Is that what it is? There's one. The Cottonwood one is obviously the best, right?
Yes,
but then,
the original, yes.
But then there's one that's closer to us, and that one has a true drive-through. You drive up to the window. It's not the car hop.
The car hop. They have 3 of them. Downtown Salt Lake, apparently, somewhere over
Haven't
there.
been to that one.
Yeah, there's one at 700 East and 425 South. You've got the one in Cottonwood, the Midvale one, and then you've got West Valley City.
I think the one in Cottonwood's the bomb dig.
Well, but here's my thing over there. The vibes over there are just so good. For whatever reason, I love it over there.
I love living in Daybreak, but I miss Sandy.
Yeah.
I miss living in Sandy. I miss my house. My wife made me sell my house. She
Oh
forced
my
me.
God. That is not
She had a gun to
true.
my head. She
Not
forced me.
true. No.
You know. But
He's
it's
an
fine.
assassin.
Yeah. Best a couple more here, then we got to get to your favorite companies in the world. What do you guys think of Crown Burger? Top 5 ? Britt's never been to Crown Burger. I think
I
Crown
don't
Burger.
know.
I've ever
Crown
been to
Burger
Burger.
French fries are amazing. Crown Burger French fries are flipping amazing.
Okay.
Chick-fil-A for fries. Chick-fil-A for nothing.
Nah.
Can't do
Chick-fil-A, it
bro.
turns out their wrappers are killing people. But other than that, their food's great.
Chick-fil-A for MSG.
John Jackson says best quality cheap fast food is Wendy's. See, JJ, that's why you're a legend on this show. I would agree with that. Tanner says better question. What's wrong with you, Mrs. Monty? That's what I'm saying. Like what? I mean,
What?
but you're all just moist over flipping
I'm
Hires
sorry.
Big H.
Did
Like
you
you're
just say moist?
you get excited.
Tell me that you don't want a patty melt with the
No.
nice
Want is not the word.
crispy bread.
Just so you can go to
oozing
Pound Town.
cheese, the grilled onions.
Go to Pound Town.
You do, yeah. See,
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Cooper Creek in West Valley, best burger in Utah. I don't think
Cooper
they've
Creek.
ever cleaned their grill. You taste the ghost of burgers past. One round left says love the impossible. We do too. All right.
Can we do, because we're running out of time here.
Yes.
We got to finish up. I
Yes.
want to do this chip thing, MSG.
Oh yeah. Okay, we'll finish with
Oh,
that.
Yeah, let's finish
man.
with that.
Okay, so what are they? Don Julio chips?
Yeah, what
Yeah.
kind of chips are
They're
they?
done-
The Don Julios?
The Don
That's
Julios.
like one of our favorite
Yes,
chips, dude.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why this was all
Oh,
ruined.
Wow.
So we got a bag of Don Julio's, and we were
The
eating
lightly
them.
flavored,
The
or
lightly
seasoned.
seasoned. Yeah, right. That's our favorite
Come
one.
on.
And the thing that flagged me was a chip fell on the ground. Our dog ate it and totally got sick. Not
Fire
instantly,
and
but
fury.
after a little bit of time, all of a sudden he's doing the whole like, oh, I got to barf. He belched in a way I've never heard our dog belch before. And then yesterday I sat down and I was like, I want some chips. And I thought, what is in these chips that made our dog so sick? And I started reading through the ingredients, besides the fact that it's like canola oil, MSG.
Those
Why
are
is there
numbers of
MSG
death.
in these chips? Like, what the hell?
It's brutal, bro.
Fat Jesus says, check yourself, Tanner. Nothing wrong with Mrs. Monty.
Thank you. Fat Jesus is a fan.
I knew it. I knew it.
Fine.
You know, Fat
Just
Jesus.
take it nice and easy.
you know.
Okay, just relax.
I don't know a woman that Fat Jesus isn't a fan of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really disappointed. These Don Julio lightly seasoned chips are by far my favorite. Now
Yeah.
I'll never eat them
You
again.
can't do it, dude.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
And mind you, Rhino, our dog, ate one chip that
One.
was dropped. One.
Yeah.
And he threw up everywhere. And that's what made you look at the ingredient. Yeah, it's incredibly
It's gnarly,
disappointing.
bro.
It
Yeah.
is
It
incredibly.
clearly really upset his stomach. And it was the belch that was so weird. Like, our dog doesn't like burp,
Yeah.
but he was like struggling, and it clearly had made him like,
James
gasping.
Knight wants to know if we added the vomit cam for the dogs.
Oh, we should. It would have to be a little remote. We have to kind of follow him around though to
Yeah.
get the right,
Hula Billy says, I love me some MSG.
Oh,
There you go.
Can't
All
do
right,
it.
that's
dude.
it. Show's
Can't
over.
do it, bro.
no.
That's it. Mrs. Monty, good to see you, Wade. Congratulations on your on-camera debut. Mrs. Monty makes the show today.
Hello.
It's amazing. It is amazing what technology can do for the show when you have remote control robotic cameras now in your studio, so you can whip one around and see Mrs. Monty. There you go. Good to see you. Make sure you hit subscribe. By the way, we are giving away a PlayStation 5 at 5,000 subscribers on this channel. If you're here right now, please do give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.